Hello guys, hope you are doing well. We'll be moving on with our topic of cells. So last class we talked about the cell theory, what cells are viruses, living or non-living, the seven characteristics of life, and Louis Pasteur's experiment. Now we'll be going deeper and delving into eukaryotic cells. And eukaryotic cells are they are cells that make up eukaryotes, obviously. And eukaryotes are any organism that have a true nucleus as well as other membrane bound organelles. We can say that are eukaryotes are compartmentalized. So eukaryotes are compartmentalized. Now we can look at animal cells and plant cells. You don't For MYP you don't need to know how to draw the cells, but you need to look at the basic structures such as the mitochondria, the cell membrane, the nucleus. The nucleus takes up the most of the space. The mitochondria looks like this. It's like a kidney bean, I suppose. Yes, it has folds in it called the cristae to increase surface area for aerobic respiration. You have ribosomes, which are involved in protein synthesis. You have rough endoplasmic reticulum, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, and other things which we will discuss today in this video. Then you have plant cells, which have a large central vacuole. Now look at this. They have a large central vacuole to store food and water. Furthermore, they also have a cell wall and they also have chloroplasts. So if you have to compare and contrast animal and plant cells, we can see that animal cells do not have a cell wall. They do not have chloroplasts because they are heterotrophs, which means that they feed on other organisms for their nutrition. That means they don't need sunlight to make their own food. So therefore they don't photosynthesize and therefore they do not have chloroplasts. Now, if they do not have chloroplasts, they do not have chlorophyll. Remember, chlorophyll, I'll just chlorophyll is inside chloroplasts. So chloroplasts contain chlorophyll. Most of the cell is filled by the cytoplasm. So they have a huge cytoplasm. So like you see the gray thing here, that's the cytoplasm. Then if there are any vacuoles present like these, you would have them small in size. And they have, so both of these have ATS ribosomes, that means 80 size ribosomes. You don't need to know this, but this is just extra information. This will be so useful in DP years. And plant cells have rigid cell walls. They have cell walls, have many green chloroplasts because they need to photosynthesize. They contain chlorophyll. They only have a thin lining of cytoplasm. And now they have a large central vacuole. So this is your central vacuole that is filled with cellular sap. Now animal and plant cells are very similar structurally, as they both contain various membrane bound organelles as well as a true nucleus. However, plant cells have a few additional structures or organelles. Now if we look at the general structure of animal and plant cells, we'll find the plasma membrane, which is basically the cell membrane. So it is a semi-permeable membrane which regulates which molecules enter and exit the body. So you have a semi-permeable membrane, which it means it's selective of what enters and what does not. So like water, oxygen, carbon dioxide and other essential minerals can pass freely. Now it is also composed of a phospholipid bilayer and it provides support to the cell. Now if you look at mitochondria, it's the powerhouse of the cell. Well, do not use this term in your E assessments. You can just say it is a site where cellular or aerobic respiration takes place. and they have folds called cristae, which increase the surface area for aerobic respiration, and all of this is an adaptation to speed up the rate of aerobic respiration or metabolism in the cell. Now mitochondria converts sugar, fat and proteins from food to usable energy, which is then released. Then there's the nucleus, which is also referred to as the smart. It's like the control center of the cell. That is the smartest organelle. Think about your friend who's the smartest, or you may be the smartest. Think of you as something in which without the class cannot live. So, like, you're the control center of your class. You're the smart brain. Now, the nucleus contains the majority of the cell's genetic material, which is organized as DNA molecules with proteins to form chromosomes. So, basically, they contain the DNA and molecules with proteins to form chromosomes, which we'll be covering when we cover DNA and the genetics. The nucleolus is the area in which these ribosomes are synthesized. So ribosomes are synthesized inside the nucleolus. Now the cell wall, which is found only in plant cells, is made up of cellulose, which provides a cell with structural support as well as chromosomes. And there are ribosomes, which are made up of RNA and protein. Now, ribosomes make and synthesize proteins along with amino acids, which are then used to repair the cell's damage. So, amino acids make a protein, and all of this will be covered in what chemical processes support life, which will be the unit after this. Now, chloroplasts are the site where photosynthesis takes place, and they also store chlorophyll, the green pigment in plants, which is what gives the plants its green color, and that captures the light energy from the sunlight. Then you have RER, rough endoplasmic reticulum. So it plays a central role in the synthesis of proteins and glycoproteins. Then you have lysosomes. Lysosomes are organelles that contain digestive enzymes to digest excess or worn out organelles, food particles, as well as engulf viruses or bacteria. So it basically acts like a protect. It's like your protective organ or something that guards you from damage. Then you have the Golgi apparatus. It's made up of membrane-bound sacs to process and bundle macromolecules. So amino acids building up proteins. It then processes proteins and then sends it out. Then you have centrioles, which help form the spindle fibers, which are then used in cellular division or mitosis and meiosis, and that is another unit on its own. So that was all for today, which talked about eukaryotic cells. And just remember that know the have an overview of all of this. Look at these diagrams, try to identify these organelles on your own, and in the next class we'll be looking at prokaryotic cells and comparing prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Okay, we'll look at this in our next class. Thank you.